Welcome. In front of me I have the new Honor X7, and today I'll go over unboxing along with a quick spec look of this phone. So anyway, I just pop it straight open. Now this is a budget device, or well, kind of on the higher point of a budget device, but still I'll consider it budget for $200. Let's see what we get in here. That's a nice looking bag. Okay, so that's pretty much all we get in the box. So we get a charger that can charge the phone at 22.5 watts. So pretty okay for such a price. We do have a cable Type-C, so that's also nice that the phone comes with a Type-C charging port instead of the micro USB that some budget phones still come with for some stupid reason. And that's basically all we get. We don't have any kind of case for it, which is a little bit of a shame, I would say, but hey, that is what it is. Most of the budget devices do still come with like some kind of cases, which I do personally think it's a still nice inclusion no matter what the price of the device is. It doesn't cost that much to produce a silicone case, and it always just adds more protection to your phone if you want to use it. So I'm not really going to go through the setup. I'm just going to touch the specs right here. So number one, the display. It's a 6.7 inch display, so pretty big display, but it only runs at 720p, so more precisely 720 by 1600 pixels. It's an IPS LCD display with a 90 Hz refresh rate, which is actually quite nice that it has a increased refresh rate. It runs on a Snapdragon 680, which is only a 4G chipset, so you don't get any kind of 5G connectivity right here if you're hoping for that. Now at the back we do have what looks to be a quad camera setup. Don't get too excited, it's not really. We have two sticker cameras and technically only one good camera. So we have the 48 megapixel wide sensor, the main one, which obviously you can see it right over here. Then we get a 5 megapixel ultra wide, which I think at 5 megapixels it's gonna come out a little bit pixelated, so you can utilize it if you want to. Probably won't give you any kind of good results. And then we have, like I said, the two sticker cameras that are macro and depth sensor. Now these cameras shouldn't be used for any kind of reason. Depth sensor usually is just absolute dog shit, I'm not gonna lie, and I'm not even gonna try to pretend that it's good. When phone uses it, because I did encounter phones that have the sensor but don't actually use it, it's usually utilized by portrait mode, where it creates this fake bokeh effect. And when it does, you can clearly see when it's used, because it will create this atrocious kind of blur effect around, for instance, hair, to try to create like a separation between the subject and the head full of hair and the background, which it miserably fails at because it's only 2 megapixels. So in that case, I don't recommend using portrait mode at all. If portrait mode has no blurring whatsoever like that, it means that the camera is not even being used for the most part, and any kind of like subtle bokeh effect that you have might probably be just created by the main sensor. If it's like really subtle to the point that you can barely see the blurriness, then yeah, it's probably based on the main sensor. And at that point, go right ahead, use the main sensor with the portrait mode, just because the 2 megapixel depth sensor isn't really actually being used for anything. And when it comes down to the macro lens, it's going to be also shit. Again, not gonna lie. When you have a camera that can capture photos at 48 megapixels, usually, I only encountered one place where that wasn't the case. I don't remember the phone. Usually, and meaning like 99% of the time, the 48 megapixel 2x zoom will produce a much better macro photo. So you can zoom in closer and still have more detail than the actual macro lens because it only has 2 megapixels. So in both cases, don't use these horrendous sensors. Just use the main photo here with the lens for most of your photos. Now, at the front, we also have an 8 megapixel selfie. It's just a selfie, so I'm not really gonna touch upon it much. Now, when it comes down to features of the device, we do have a headphone jack at the bottom, as you can see. Down-firing speakers. We have a SIM/SD tray. So if I'm correct, this actually can take... Let's just quickly grab this. So if I'm thinking correctly, it probably has dual SIM tray along with an SD expansion. Okay, so it's kind of it. I believe it's dual, but the SD tray doubles as a SIM tray. So you can have one SIM card and one SD card, or 2 SIM cards and no SD card. But still, nice that you can expand the storage. Now the default size of this storage right here is 128 gigs of storage. This is the only option that you can get, but you have 2 different versions in terms of RAM. So there is 4 and 6 gigs of RAM. Personally, I would probably recommend going for the higher one with the 6 gigs. This will ensure that your apps will stay open for a little bit longer. It will also help you out with some other just tasks that might require a little bit more power. And because this is running a Snapdragon 680, this device should actually run pretty reasonably for the price that it costs. So actually, I think it might be a really good phone here for the price that you get to pay. And another thing, this processor is being powered by a 5000 mAh battery. So you should have a fairly good battery life right here. And also it should charge reasonably fast in like 2 hours probably with that 22.5 watt charger. And now 2 hours probably won't be super fast in terms of like some other phones that can charge at like 100 watts and you get to have your phone fully charged in like 30 minutes, but still it's not really that bad for the price, obviously. Now, one more thing, we do have a fingerprint sensor, though it is mounted on the power button, so it doubles as a power button or fingerprint sensor, depending how you look at it. But yeah. So anyway, that's probably all the worth mentioning kind of specs, and to be fair, for the price that you get to pay, probably the least interesting spec right here would be the cameras. They are a little bit underwhelming, but the rest of the phone seems to be pretty decently spec'd for the price. And honestly, if you don't really expect to have like super great photos out of this phone, turn your expectations to just this kind of like, I would say, budget camera setup right here, then I think you will be very satisfied with this phone. Now with that being said, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.